Okay, so I'm kind of on a horses learning kick, how horses learn. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the window. Horses kind of like, when I imagine it, I imagine like when I'm trying to teach a horse something and they're not getting it and they're not getting it and they are trying a bunch of things. So they try to find the right answer. So while they're trying to find the right answer, you need to be ready to let them know the instant that they crack their window for you, let them know they got the right answer. Make sure that when they crack their window that you give them the instruction that they're looking for. So trying to see if I can remember a couple examples in this particular moment, but one of them is when you ask a horse to back up. And the way I ask a horse to back up under saddle is I tap my reins, I give them a bump. So my head carriage is a wiggle on the rein, but when I ask them to back up, it's a head bump. And they may do a bunch of different things. They may throw their head up, they may go sideways, they may do whatever, but instead of backing up. As soon as they stop doing all the other things, like if they're trying a bunch of different things, throwing their head up, doing whatever, as soon as they pause, I call that rolling their window down. It's kind of like when somebody walks up to a car that has their window closed and they tap on the window to try to tell somebody something or give them instructions. Often you think of it as like when you're coming to some kind of big event and the people directing the cars where to park, tap on somebody's window to tell them, I need you to go down to the next aisle. And you crack the window down just enough to get your instructions, but you really don't want to like engage. So that's kind of what horses do. They crack their window. You need to be ready to give them the instructions when they crack their window, because if that guy is tapping on the window and you think he's going to give you more instructions and then you crack your window and he doesn't say anything, you're going to be like, alrighty then, and you're going to roll your window back up. Well, that's what horses do too. So you want to make sure that when they crack their window, you're ready to tell them either, yes, you got it, or you're ready to tell them, no, but this is what I want you to do. I love it when a horse tries something, but if they're trying, so say for the backup, they're trying a bunch of different things, and they finally crack their window to ask you, well then what do you want? You better be ready to tell them. So my thing is always make sure that you're ready to give them instructions when they finally ask the question. If he finally rolls his window down a little bit to ask you, well then what do you want? Be ready to answer his question. Trying to think a couple examples. So when a horse is out on the circle and you want them to change direction, and I don't really have good examples, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm drawing a blank here, but I really like the part about the guy trying to tell you where to park and how you would respond to that and how you should equate that with your horse. But when your horse is on a circle and you want to tell him to change directions and your horse checks in with you a couple times, he'll give you an ear or he'll tip his nose in your direction. If you're not ready to tell him what you want from him when he does check in, so he's going around, and then he goes like this. If you're not ready to go, come into me so I can tell you to go a different direction, if you're not ready to do that and your horse doesn't think you have something else to say, well, your horse cracked his window and said yes, and you didn't give him any instructions, and then they rolled the window back up and said, alrighty then, and then keep going around the circle. So now they're not going to get it, and they may not check in again for a while, right? They may not be willing to roll their window down for you because you're just going to stand there and not say anything. You got to be ready to answer their questions when they roll their window down. You got to be ready with instructions when they roll their window down. You got to be ready to tell them what you want when they roll their window down. So I don't think, I think when they try something, if it's the wrong answer, I think if they rolled their window down and you didn't give them any better instructions, again, they roll their window back up, and now you're kind of shot for a while Because what they'll do is they'll try a bunch of different things, but then it'll be a while before they try that same thing again. So let's just say your horse thought about backing up when you're asking him to back up. And he thought about it, he got a nice lean to his body. To me, that was him rolling the window down a little bit. If you don't take advantage of that and release right in that moment when his body got the message, he may not try that again. He may think it has something to do with his ears. He may think it has something to do with his chin. He may think it has something to do with his tail. You don't know what he's going to try next, but he may not try that backup thought again for a while, and you're going to be there for a long time getting frustrated with your horse because you're going to wonder why your horse isn't even going to try. Well, he did try, and you didn't tell him when he cracked his window. You didn't tell him, yes, you're on the right page. So now he's not going to think that again. And they will eventually, but you make your training process much longer. I've watched some trainers that are well-known trainers, and I'm watching thinking, he just told you he's willing to try that. You missed it. Oh, and it used to drive me crazy, so I stopped watching this one particular trainer because it was like, you missed it. He just told you, he just rolled his window down. Oh. And then you'd watch, and maybe a long while before that horse would ask again. And I honestly believe that this particular trainer was looking for a specific ask. He was looking for a specific crack in the window or something, because it seemed like he missed a lot of the opportunities to get it right the first time. Before the horse would go back the second time and finally roll the window down a little bit more and go, well, then what do you want? You know? I think sometimes if you miss the window, that makes horses very tough to train, because first of all, they stop believing in rolling the window down for you, and second of all, you become a more frustrated handler, a more frustrated teacher, instructor, whatever, that your horse tends to not really look for you for guidance because you're not really a good guide. Like, if you're at that park and you know, this guy just told you to roll your window down, but then he didn't give you any instructions, and then there's another guy a little bit further up, you might drive up to him and be like, hey, where do you want me to park, you know? It's kind of the same thing. Your horse is going to stop believing in you as the guide, and it's going to find somebody else or something else to trust. And that's why often horses are more reliant on their herd behavior than they are on their human connection, because humans just don't make sense, you know? So a little long-winded, kind of lost my train of thought, but I do really like the analogy of having, you know, somebody trying to give you instructions and then not actually giving you instructions. So I am going to leave this one up because it's a good point. Probably going to be better to write something about it someday. So that's it about windows.